Hello, bright and shiny beacons of light. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation, along with Jessica Lee, who is running. I gotta look where the camera is. She is running the chat room here. We had no internet all afternoon. Kelling Communications, I guess, had a network crash. I wonder if they were hacked or something like that. And so we are punting, and we're excited to see how it goes when we don't have a newsletter out, when things are completely in states of disarray. That's almost what we want to talk with you tonight about. What we want to talk with you about is about traumas and wounds and, excuse me while I cough here. Okay, let's cut to the chase here. When I met Jessica with my flowing boulder locks and my bicycle whatevering and my meditation, and Jessica came into my life, she said, "How have you done with your childhood wounds?" And what did I say to that?
He said, "I'm completely healed of everything."
No. No, I was not. And I'm still not, although I'd like to say I'm much.
And red flags were waving in my mind.
You're probably hearing sirens too. We all have childhood wounds, all of us. It's a question. Jessica is probably going to be moderating here and asking various questions. But yes, Victoria, we are all a work in progress, or what I learned in MBA school years ago, or business school, what I call a WIP, a work in progress. And we continue to get whipped as well. But that's a whole nother story. But we all have wounds, large or small, from our childhood and from our adulthood, that have us walking around somewhat numb, somewhat in a state of PTSD, meaning that we're almost all, particularly in Western society, walking around in a state of fight or flight. And when we're in a fight or flight state, we have less bandwidth, we have less IQ points. When I was getting my MBA, I was getting 2 degrees simultaneously, MBA and computer master's degree, and I was pushed to the edge. And I remember going into the student health center and saying, my brain is mud. They said, let's test you for ADD, which I had tested positive as a child. And they gave me, among other things, an IQ test. And as a child, I'd done quite well at this. When I was in a fight or flight response, I ended up getting something in the 90s, if I understand, and an IQ below 100. Let's just say Forrest Gump would have had me beat. And that's what happens when we don't address our traumas, our wounds, and we are walking around completely stressed out on autopilot. That's what I want to talk with you about tonight. First off, a few quick housekeeping things. First off, drum roll, please. Inspire Nation Meditations. iMeditations is now
Live.
Woohoo! Yes, 5 months later than expected, it is live. And we got lots of free meditations and goodness for you. If you come on over to inspirenationshow.com, is there a link?
iMeditations.com.
Just go to iMeditations.com. And we've got lots of free meditations for you, all sorts of goodies, and lots of opportunities to get in the bliss. And I think you're going to love it. It has truly been a labor of love of ours, and hope you greatly enjoy it too. So that's imeditations.com. Secondly, I've got 3 more spots, just 3 more spots left for fall coaching. And I have 6 free one-on-one strategy sessions to fill those spots. So if you want a theoretical chance at getting in for coaching with me this fall, theoretically speaking, that is, come on over to inspirenationshow.com/coaching and get signed up like yesterday for a free one-on-one strategy session with me to see if coaching is right for you. Again, math, 3 spots left, 6 strategy sessions. So it's a hurry up. That's my best suggestion. With all the love in the world, if you want me to work with you, I'd reach out quickly. Okay, anything else?
You will have a waiting list.
I will have a waiting list. Last fall, it got to about 2.5, close to 3 months. Don't know what it will be this fall. Happy to get you on the waiting list if you can't get in. But there's a theoretical chance you could get in right now. So I would hurry and get signed up tonight. I'm not sure what calendar availability is. As next week, I am going for a week. This is a whole nother story that we'll talk about next week on the night before I go. I'm going to the Nobel Laureate Peace Summit down in Mexico, where I was just invited. And I'm just going to share the love down there. I'm not sure what capacity I'll be down there. I'm not sure what will come out of it. I'm just going to be open to the whole experience. And I know I'm going to be coaching and playing at that level of a game. If you caught my newsletter, I was talking about that this week. And so I am so honored and excited to be going down there to, I'd say, hang with the Nobel laureates, but let's just see, learn from the Nobel laureates how we can bring more peace into the world. And that is a huge mission of ours. Our mission is to raise people's vibration, elevate consciousness, shift humanity. You can't shift humanity if you don't have more peace. Which brings us right back to tonight's topic. How do we find more peace in our lives? And one key way that we find more peace in our lives is addressing the traumas that we are all holding on to. For when we have trauma, we are not running the show, but as Rick Hansen of Hardwiring Happiness likes to put out, our amygdala, or our lizard-like brain, is running the show. And, and that lizard-like brain may not be the sharpest or even the most compassionate tool in the shed. So what do we do about this? Well, first off, we start to become awake and aware. Start to look at where these traumas are coming from. And it may be that you know.
I have a question.
Okay, all right. Let's turn this thing.
Usually when people, at least when I used to think of traumas, I thought of PTSD. But so I'm just asking, does everyone have trauma?
So I'm going to give you my opinion, and I'm going to give you Dr. James Gordon opinion, who we had on the show with Transformation here. An amazing book, can't recommend it enough. He is on a mission. He's been working with people with PTSD for the last 50 plus years, and he's traveling all over the world this year. Mm-hmm. He's going everywhere to get his message out. He's even worked with, not the people in the Bahamas yet, but he's worked with people in Puerto Rico who had the hurricane come and trounce that island because they're all struggling with PTSD. His answer would be either you had a childhood trauma or you had an adult trauma, or as you're getting into your later years of life, you're going to be experiencing trauma as those around you drop away, so to speak. My opinion is a little bit different than that because when I've done my work in the trenches with coaching people, I found there's not a single soul out there that does not have trauma. And particularly when you're less than 7 years of age, then stop it. Stop it. Everybody experiences something that a parent or a loved one would not consider a trauma. But when you're less than 7 years of age, you're in your theta brainwave state. It's going straight into your subconscious, and it creates a trauma inside of you.
So something that seems insignificant as an adult.
That seems completely and totally benign. Stop it, I'll get to you in a minute. Can literally create a trauma inside of you. But let's go back, because what I've been experiencing, because a large part of my work, when I coach with you, one of the big questions that I get to ask is, and I don't necessarily do it on a conscious level, but it's a question of what is this person's traumas? What's the operating system they're running, or they're working with? So is it somebody that's high anxiety that's needing to control things? All right, what happened in their child? Is it somebody who just rules over all of the time? What happened in their child? Is it someone who, forgive me, Pookie,
is introverted?
Shuts down, yes, who shuts down when the going gets tough? That's actually a protective mechanism. It's not with judgment. Different people do different things. What was the trauma that says it's safest to shut down rather than to be the largest nail that gets hammered down? Now, if we go back before your childhood, let's go back to my mom in the womb. I love you, Mom. Mom's smoking while in the womb. While I'm in the womb, she's saying it's the best time of her life, but she is a very high stress and anxiety individual. So I could certainly have had a trauma. Now, I look at things from, I have a different perspective on everybody than the traditional Western approach. I see us as all having an energetic blueprint, an energetic DNA print in the ethos. And that print isn't just from what took place with us today. It's not even what just took place with us in the womb. It's what took place in our parents. It's what took place in our parents' parents, and what took place before that. So my family's history has World War II and the Holocaust. Other people that I've worked with, it's been the killing fields. It's been the Vietnam War. It's been all of these different events, which you go, oh, what does that have to do with me? I wasn't even alive yet. Well, it turns out we had, is it Mark Wolin talking about...
I think the book was called It Wasn't You, or It's...
Something like that, having to do with childhood traumas. And he shares a story about somebody who was born to a father, and that father lost his brother to an electric pole accident, fell off of an electric pole, and the child is now scared of heights, is terrified of heights, thinks heights is going to kill him. The thing is, it wasn't his dad who had this incident, it was his dad's brother. But it got in his dad's field and it was passed down to his son. So we can all have traumas, literally not starting from us. And that doesn't even get to past regressions or past life traumas, where anybody that I've spoken to who has have a past life regression, which is something started by Dolores Cannon, good 50, 60 years ago. I apologize, I'm going to sneeze many times here. Take over, Pookie.
There's no mute here. He's actually toning his sneeze down. Usually it's 10 times as loud. I just typed in Mark Wolin's name and the title of his book, It Didn't Start With You. It's actually a really fascinating book. And it makes me wonder, do you know how the Holocaust has affected you?
That's a fantastic question. I know on a conscious level. So I don't know on what we're talking about as an energetic imprint. I can't fully speak. I actually have done a bunch of clearings on myself on it. But the one thing that I know is having parents that had a substantial amount of their family wiped out, they are very hesitant to stick their necks out. So it's kind of immigrants, and we're an immigrant nation. Immigrants work very hard and are very conservative to begin with. Now, if you come from a place where your family was wiped out after you left, not only do you work your butts off, not only do you not want to stick your neck out, but you are terrified this can happen again. And so you are exceptionally cautious, conservative, not sticking your neck out and running in a constant state of fear. And my parents grew up in a state of fear. And I inherited that. Both I inherited it in my DNA, in my epigenetically, but also my parents were both operating from a place of PTSD, from a place of trauma from their childhood, and their childhood dating back to the Holocaust.
To a lesser degree than compared to their parents.
Maybe.
No? Okay.
So trauma is trauma, and you can't say, so sounds awful, but it was something that was in James Gordon's book as well. Confirm that today. If somebody had we were talking about the Palestinian conflict and kids who lost their fathers to Israeli bombings. And you can't say that is any more horrific or less horrific than somebody who has been either sexually abused or somebody who has been verbally abused in their childhood. How the mind takes it as the mind takes it. We can't say, well, that's a 10 trauma and this is only a... Oh, I hope everybody is still there. That's wild. We're learning on here that somebody tried to make a Facebook like and it literally not logged us off. So please let us know if you're still there. So basically what I'm saying is you can't judge and say one thing is more traumatic than another. It could even be that, let's say my parents' parents were terrified because of what happened to their family in the Holocaust. And that that caused them to raise my parents in a certain way of fear that may have amplified it. And then it comes to the next generation and it's amplified even more. So we can't say that it dissipates. I grew up in a childhood. This is without complaint, and I love my parents so much. I come from such a place of compassion now. But I grew up in a household where my friends didn't want to visit because they called it the crazy house. My parents, and you haven't seen them really fight, were fighting, I guess the expression goes, cats and dogs. Thank you, Lori, for letting us know. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you, Brave Skull. They were fighting tooth and nail. And what they taught me growing up is how to be a great son of a bitch fighter. That's really what they taught me. And they taught me, and James Gordon says he had the same kind of parents as I did, how to be scared as hell at the dinner table. That, excuse me, crap's gonna go down. Bless you. There you go. Jessica's like, I understand this. I can appreciate this after living with you. And I want to get this out of my system. And that trauma created in me a very fear-based operation that I had to work on myself. And that can date back many generations. Now, I want to go real briefly to what I was saying before when I started sneezing, past life regressions. If we are to believe that this is not our first go around here, and all signs point that way, all near-death experiences point that way, all hypnotherapy sessions, when they dig deep enough, point that way. If this isn't our first go around, then what people get out of a past life regression therapy, where you go into a state of hypnosis and people dig to find out what are your traumas from your past, almost all of us got murdered at some point.
Uh-huh.
It isn't.
Would you also say almost all of us have murdered as well?
Yeah. But I'm coming.
Well, maybe in like war, not as.
Yes, which to me, yes, but that's a whole other issue. We'll save that for another day. But we all have massive traumas, and we come into this lifetime to heal those traumas. It's not oh my God, I've got all this karma from the past and I'm doomed from day number one. Why am I even here? It's hooray, this is the lifetime where I get to become awake and aware and start to clear these things. That's what we're talking about, becoming awake and aware. Looking at your emotions, see what they have to tell you, see where your fears are coming from. Our fears are here to serve us. Look at what patterns are tripwired. I work with so many people in relationships and they're like, oh my God, something felt off because we got in this downward spiral. This person isn't right for me. No, that's not the case at all. That person is an awesome teacher for you. No, you don't have to choose to spend your lifetime with that teacher, but they are an awesome teacher to help you to find your wounds. It is then your job when you find something. Here's a good way to tell if you've got a wound or not. If somebody says 1 + 1 and you go 1,500,000, that didn't add up. And so that was a trigger.
Mm-hmm. You have triggers, I have triggers. Everyone has triggers.
Yes, and we have the we triggers as well.
And couples tend to hit the triggers the most. Why is that?
I guess it's 3 reasons. I was talking about this with a coaching client last night. And part of it is history, certainly. Part of it is they know what your triggers are. And a big part of it is the V word, vulnerability. So for instance, you have been saying since day number 1, Michael, you're so nice when you're on air. You're so nice when you give talks. You're so nice when you coach. But when you're with me,
yes,
I'm a lot better now, right?
You are.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But
the gap used to be this big between on stage Michael and at home Michael. And I always liked this.
So what's going on here is you can annihilate me. A coaching client can't get that close. Yeah, a coaching client can't get that close to annihilate me. My parents can get that close. An audience, even an audience of 100,000, even an audience of, I haven't played with 1 million audience yet. I'm sure it's coming. but can't annihilate me the way you can with a single look. And so because of that, it is easy for me to go into a fight or flight response with you and become dumb, to say stupid things, and to repeat patterns from my childhood, from my wounds, or
Yes.
patterns from my parents
Like
or my parents'
projecting your
parents.
parents onto me.
Absolutely, Mom. I love you, Mom, but really, we all do that. So when
That wasn't about your mom. That was just being about. That was about being your mom.
I'm not sure, everyone, where we go with that one.
No, it was it was about the concept of being your mother, a general mother of Michael Sandler. I wouldn't want to be your mother, but not your actual not actual Mrs. Sandler.
You're in the hole. There's no way out.
Do you
Throw
think they
down a
get it? I
ladder
think
or
they
a
get it,
rope.
even though I didn't explain it well.
Pulling you up with the rope. So, all right, going back to wounds, what we get to look for then is what these wounds are. And we can do this. I'm always biased. I always like to go to automatic writing first and foremost. So if something is triggering me, the next morning, I want to write that in that question in the evening. And the next morning, as part of kind of this guided journaling or meditative journaling process, I'm going to ask, what the flip happened last night? Why did she trigger me so much? And the great thing about being triggered, about writing, I like how Jordan's doing #triggered. The great thing about writing about being triggered is you're doing it when you're in a place of not being triggered. When you're in the writing by yourself in the morning or journaling by yourself, then you can actually dive down into it. I am such a believer of leaning into everything. Now,
Okay. So how do you get past the trigger point or trigger phase?
Well, in the trigger phase, let's step back. So you're triggered, you're doing a dance.
Yeah.
Let's
How
have.
do you step back? Isn't that difficult to do? You're actually really good at it.
Mm-hmm.
How did you learn to step back? You're better at it than I am.
Thank you.
He'll retreat, and then I'll go chasing after him.
I
I'm not
didn't-
done with you yet. Come back here. I'm still yelling.
I didn't want to do the dance anymore.
I need to be heard.
Okay, so here's how it used to go down. And then I want to talk about a few techniques coming out of this book.
Okay.
So how it used to go down is you would say you
A-hole?
okay.
Yes.
And my ego would go, you know what? You're not just a little bit of an a-hole, but she's right. You're a blankety blankety mother blankety 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 mother friggin', and you don't deserve to have. And what would happen is I would hit a groove in the record from PTSD experience, from a trauma, and I would put my needle onto that groove on the record, crank it up really loud so I could enjoy it. And I would literally enjoy the chemical response of feeling like shit.
Huh.
That's the truth of the matter. We all get addicted to the negative hormones, the negative chemical response that is coming up when we get onto the groove in the record. Why? Because that groove that came from an assault, that came from a trauma, that came from our childhood, on some level feels comfortable. And it feels easier to play that groove in the record. And at some point I said, I don't want to play that record anymore. Basically, I look for addictions in my life.
So, but you said that at some other point when you weren't in the middle of it, when you weren't.
First, you've got to find it when you're not in the experience. Mm-hmm. Then you catch it 10 or 30 minutes into the experience. This goes with all of the teaching that I do. Mm-hmm. To break a habit, You first become aware of the habit outside of the habit. Then you become aware of the habit close to the habit. Then you become aware of the habit in the habit. Then you become aware of the habit close to the inception of the habit. And then you become aware of the habit right before you actually start.
It's a basic
the habit.
mindfulness practice. Then.
Yes, yes. And so now I can catch the, basically, remember when we made kefir? And you'd throw sugar or coconut water into the kefir mix and it would start to foam up?
Yeah.
You have to catch right before you put that sugar in and it's starting to bubble. You're getting that essence of emotion and cut it off right there. And say, Pookie, I love you very much. I'm willing to discuss this later. Okay, you're right. I am a asshole. And we'll discuss this later on. So, and then you keep pushing and pushing perhaps. And at some point I might turn into a, yeah, we know. But
if I back you up into a corner. Enough.
Yes. With all of us, if backed into a corner, there is the opportunity for us to protect ourselves. And that's what we're talking about here is how to get out of that fight or flight response. Now, going to what James Gordon said is a lot of us are running around completely numb, completely detached from our bodies, completely detached from the emotions. And we were talking about different ways to get back into our bodies as a first step to overcoming trauma. And one of the ways is actually exercise. When I throw myself out for a run, I can reconnect with the body. Now, I would argue if I throw myself out for a conscious run, I'm reconnecting with the body. If I throw myself out and try to slay myself and hurt myself, there's a difference. I love going as fast as I can. That's not trying to hurt myself. But there are those people who will over-exercise in an effort to punish themselves. That's not getting back into the body. He had a few cool techniques, very Darshan-like. Remember Darshan on Maui? So one of his techniques was, well, first off, most basic techniques is meditation. He recommends 40 minutes a day. He's not going to let anybody get away with 20 minutes a day. 40 minutes of meditation each day to quiet and calm the mind and then help us to be able to step back.
Does the 40 minutes need to happen in one sitting or can it be sessions?
We didn't get into that. My guess is that he would say in one session, but he talks about all different kinds of meditation. So running could be a meditation. Laughter could be a meditation. Repeating a mantra could be a meditation. It's not just all,
okay.
There are many different ways. He talks about actually 3 different major types of meditation. Where he likes to start with people is what he calls the soft belly meditation. And it's something we have in the show itself, but the basics, and we'll have an eye meditations as well. Put the music, shameless plug, but is basically...
You're recording a meditation.
So, well, no, we recorded a meditation together
gotcha.
in the show and we put it to nice music and stuff, guide people along, is basically breathing in through the nose, down to the belly, and I'm gonna add to his meditation. Because this is when I teach my coaching clients, put your hand on your belly. Breathe in, down to the belly, feel the belly expand. Breathe out, relax the belly. Breathe in, down to the belly, feel the belly expand like a Santa belly. And out, and relax the belly even more. And in, super, super deep, feel that Santa belly expanding. And out, let the belly go to jello. And the exercise is basically a softening of yourself by softening the belly, because we hold the belly so tight that instead of breathing down here, we tighten all the way up until we have what I call rabbit breathing. And we are walking around as a society of rabbit breathers. And we walk around as a society of rabbit breathers. And of course, everything's
making me anxious.
If instead we go to jello breathing, that right there helps take you out of a fight or flight response.
Did Wim Hof talk about this?
He talked about very deep, powerful breathing and breathing down to the belly, but not relaxing the belly, so to speak. I was impressed when I spoke with Wim Hof Iceman. I expected a very young approach, a very grrr, get 'em approach. It was a lot less so than I expected. And I believe we'll have an interview out in the next day or two on that. But this is really, you can call it a compassion breath. He calls it a soft belly. And I can call it a compassionate belly. It's how much softness can you bring to your breath? Because when you're in a fight or flight response, you are the opposite of softness. You're hard like a sword. And we need to get you, what, soft like a rainbow. Mm-hmm. Or like a cotton ball, or like a cottontail. That amount of softness helps to... There's a book that I haven't read, but I love the title, The Body Keeps the Score. And the body is tallying everything up. And we finally tell the body it's okay to relax. You melt into things, and you also allow things to be removed. It's another I did. If you catch last week's live, right at the end of it, I did a tapping exercise with people. And tapping is one of my most powerful tools of ferreting out these wounds, of basically shorting out the emotional blocks. We start to find them. We look for the triggers. We look for things that are a 10 on a level of 0 to 10. I don't want to go after 2s or 3s. Yeah, I'm not comfortable with that. I don't want to go after that. I want to go after, like I have a coaching client who's heading out on a cruise tomorrow. And I want to go after the things that are such serious triggers that it literally makes you want to jump off of the ship. That's where we need to start. Those are the wounds. Those are the traumas. Those are the blocks. That's what we get to go after. And so we can go after them by softening our belly. We can go after them with meditation. We can go after them with compassionate mantras that we gear to ourselves. We can go after them with prayer. We can go after them with exercise. We can go after them with the exercise from Darshan, which is forced laughter. You force yourself to laugh. We made it, what, 3 or 4 minutes before we were crying?
Uh-huh.
So
I forgot about that.
And almost curled up in a ball. I think I went fetal. So I was on crutches at the time, and I don't remember what happened, but I think I was down on the ground, probably in fetal position.
What were the emotions that came up? Was it releasing something that was trapped, and that's why you ended up in? I
think so. My best guess is it was the single biggest trauma in childhood. Now, I grew up in a war zone of a house. I didn't grow up in a literal war zone where I was told I was a piece of dirt. That's a very polite way of putting it.
And that they wished you were never born.
Yeah. And so I believe that is what came out. Now, truth be told, I want to back up here, and particularly when we're talking about traumas, and I want to give some. I have, in a sense, blamed a lot my parents for a lot of that negative wiring, but the fact is, I was bullied substantially growing up, from probably ages of 5 forward. I mean, bullying at a level where I couldn't take the school bus because the entire bus would bully me, where I was worried about getting knifed in the gymnasium, where I was beat up by many people at the same time in front of the car that I was trying to get into to get out of there.
You ran to school with your backpack, kind of like Forrest Gump.
Yeah, made me strong.
Made you
I'm talking from 7 or 8 years of age.
Uh-huh.
I ran to school because I get beat up on the school bus. Mm-hmm. That bullying, that shaming, and whether you're physically bullied, whether you're emotionally bullied today, whether you're cyber bullied, that is a massive trauma. And so, yes, I believe my parents were telling me, I know my parents were telling me, at least my mom was, I wish you had never been born. But who's to say what's the bigger trauma, that versus all of the kids who were telling me how much of a POS I am? I can't say where what came from. Mm-hmm. But that goes into the groove in my record. And I get to watch for that groove, and I still see the groove come up, not nearly as often as it used to. In fact, recently you said, what? It was in an argument. You're like, you feel like a POS? And I'm like, no, actually I don't. I'm like, nice of you to bring that up, though. But I've been working on that.
I wasn't calling you a POS.
You were not calling me that. I was working on that. And I get to do more. I'm really being called and challenged to do more writing in the morning of any negativity that's still inside of me, and write about it, and then shred it.
Do you think there comes a point where you can completely sand down that groove in the record where it's not even a trigger?
Yes. But I do believe that the echo is still there. And the echo is, I can see it, but I don't need to act upon it. Now, maybe that's not even the case. I've done so much rewiring. This isn't about me as greatness or whatever. But a lot of my things, a lot of who I am, don't at all reflect what I was like 10 or 20 years ago. And so who knows if I keep doing this work. I've done this work for 20 years, but I've really done the most substantial work, I'd say, in the last 4 or 5 years. That's why the show could come about. So who knows, maybe in another 10 years of work or 20 years of work, or I can hear some people listening to the show going, that's a limiting belief. Maybe it's tomorrow. You're right. Maybe it is tomorrow that I could completely let go of that. Who's to say? But I will say this. The echoes breed compassion. So what I've gone through is nothing compared to what a Palestinian child who had their father bombed, who was talked about on the show today, who this child drew 3 drawings. And he has people draw, Dr. Gordon has people draw, when they start with him, 3 drawings. A drawing of themselves, a drawing of their biggest problem, and a drawing of the possible solution. And they had this 9-year-old girl. You can look this up, it's on 60 Minutes. They had a 9-year-old girl draw out her who she was, and she was a tiny little stick figure in the corner, what her biggest problem was, and it was all these bodies piled up of her family, of her dead dad bleeding out, of bombs falling out of the sky from Israel. And I'm not picking on Israel. I'm an anti-war guy of anti-war guys. All the way back in history class in high school, I was raising my hand going, I don't get it. Why do we need to kill anybody? And I still to this day cannot get a satisfactory answer. I love everybody equally, period. And I know you can give me these stumpers. Well, what if somebody had a gun to this, that, and the other? And I'm just going to say it's all about love, and we can shift consciousness, and we don't have to accept war. With that said, the third image was of a floating up in the sky tombstone. And do you know what that tombstone was?
Her tombstone?
Yeah. The solution to the problem was her being dead. And she said, I hope the Israelis kill me so I can be reunited with my family. That's a crazy level of trauma. And doing the work, helping her identify this, helping her to see the positives, helping give her hope, and meditation alone and moving meditation alone help to clear the stuck energy and help to give her hope. Come back here, Pookie, I'm not done with you.
All right, I have to blow it.
I know. The later images she drew, the third image was of her in a white smock with this line of people. What does this mean? Well, this is me as a doctor treating people with PTSD. And this is the line of people coming to see me to get help in the same way I got help. And I better get work on my grades and focus in school because I have a lot of work to do.
That's so sweet.
We are all capable of it. We all have these wounds inside of us. We are all triggered. And I would argue, in a sense, the most important thing that we can do to transform this world is to dive into our own wounds, support everybody else on theirs, but dive into our own wounds, because if we can heal these things. This girl wished she was dead, but you know what? She's not alone. How many of us are running around right on this edge? Suicide is a record level. And I think today is actually National Suicide Awareness Day.
Really?
Yeah. Just fascinating that I'm writing about this today. So I know, let's look it up. National, oh God, Suicide Awareness Day, or Prevention. I'm trying to go Prevention Day. It's today. It's today. What are the odds of me bringing it up on today? And I had a dear, dear friend, Carrie, I love you so, so much, who, oh my God, did she have everything going for her on the surface. She's a blonde hair, blue-eyed, was a single, athletic, triathlon, multiple master's degrees, making a killing. Unfortunately, she was working for a military industry company, but which may have actually contributed to things. And I'm not picking on anybody or anything, but it might have gone into her psyche. She had all these amazing things going for her. And she systematically put her life in order, got a place that could take care of her dogs, got everything taken care of, got all her bills paid, and then checked out, took herself out. Why? Because she had some trauma in her from a childhood that said she is broken, she'll never get it figured it out, there's no fixing it. You know what one of the most dangerous things in the world is? The DSM. The manual that psychologists and psychiatrists use that say you're a borderline, that say you're bipolar, you're an ADD, you're an XYZ. And when you label somebody, you define them, and then they're broken and they need to be fixed. You are not broken. None of us are broken. We have individual challenges we came into here to work on. We have different wiring that we came here to deal with. We have different energetic blocks that we get to clear. By none of us, not a single one, you can't convince me, is broken. And when you label someone as having a statistical break, a diagnosis, then either they're unfixable or you don't go to the root cause, you go to a pill. And since I'm on the horse about a pill right here, and I was medicated for so many of my early years, so I can be a little bit furious about this if I want to be. It doesn't get at the root cause. Why was I bouncing out of my chair? Why was I going nuts? Well, part of it, I was hyper smart. I was off the charts smart. Part of it is I was extremely athletic, and putting me in a chair was the opposite of what I needed. And we all learn. They say, oh, boys learn. No, we all learn through movement. Girls in nature weren't just, well, you're a girl, you're going to stay in the cave and the boy is going to be out there. Bogus. We all learn best with movement. We had it on how many times? Dr. Michael Merzenich, the father of brain plasticity, talking about this. But I also had a family that was all but literally throwing things at each other, fighting tooth and nail, screaming beyond screaming at you. If you had a smile, you got screamed at. If you set the table wrong, you got screamed at. Anything, you got screamed at. And of course, you are going to respond with a lack of concentration, with low blood sugar levels, because your brain is always on a state of fight or flight, with a trigger response, which is why people could tease me, and I would snap back like that. Nobody gets teased, relatively speaking, if they're not an easy target. It doesn't mean you did anything wrong if you get teased. But if you get teased and they can't get a rise out of you, they go for somebody else who they can get a rise out of. I was the perfect riser, because I had a hair trigger, I think is the response, because I was continuously in a state of fight or flight. And so we get to look at this and what can we do to get ourselves out of that. I highly recommend Emotion Code, Dr. Bradley Nelson. He used to have his book free online. I know he re-released it. I'm not sure if it's there free or not. I'm sure you can find a bunch of stuff on it. You can find on our website as well, as a way to find a lot of these energetic wounds and blocks. And I would just start making yourself a study of yourself to ask, where did this come from? Why do I react this way? Why am I acting so strange? Why does this person drive me absolutely insane? So with that said, there's a lot more I can go down this road here, but I'm feeling like questions. Do you have any questions, Jessica?
I do.
Or do you want to see if we have others? Okay, fantastic.
I think something that comes up a lot for people is that when they don't realize the root cause of
I'm going to try to prevent a sneeze.
their behavior, and let's say they're on the path and they're trying to do all of the work, and when things don't go as planned, like if they have a very negative reaction to something, they beat themselves up even more. So what kind of advice would you have for someone who's constantly got that negative self-talk? Like, screw up. Go ahead.
Well, like I used to. Yeah, we call it the screw up gene. And I've shared before on this many times how when I first put myself to a mirror and told myself I love myself, I shattered the mirror, I tore apart the bathroom, and tried to do even more destruction the next time around because I had a hard time accepting that programming. So first step is awareness. And I'm going to go back to Shirley Paul, I believe it is. I think I'm getting her name wrong. Ashley Paul?
It begins with an S.
It may come to us in a minute here.
I would have had it if you hadn't said Shirley. I'll look it up. But yeah, I agree. Just knowing that your behavior is stemming from a trauma that you don't know of yet means it's not your fault.
It's not your fault. See, that's it. I'm so glad you said that. None of this is all fault. Now, I'm going to go to childhood wound number 2 here. I remember my dad dropping me off to Catholic school where I was getting beaten up and things were going just very, very poorly. And I was having to run home from school because I was getting chased home from school by people who wanted to beat me up. And my dad said, "It's not your fault, but it's your problem." And he apologizes so much. He said that's what the psychologist said who had diagnosed me as broken with ADD. It's not his fault, but it's his problem. It's not your fault. It's not your problem. It is a cosmic opportunity to learn and grow from and to really change and shape and mold who you are. First is awareness. We get to become aware of the crazy, wacky wiring inside of ourselves. What's going on? Why am I triggered? Why am I acting this way? Why do I pick up the newspaper, listen to the television? Why do I see that person cut in front of me and I just want to ram my car into him? What is going on here? So first is awareness. I'm being triggered. I don't know why, but this is a trigger. Second isn't figuring out what the trigger is. Second, compassion. Compassion, which is why a lot of times I have coaching clients do exercises where I have them actually either hold themselves as a baby and literally rock themselves in their arms and tell themselves it's okay. Tell themselves how much they love themselves. Tell themselves how much they're going to be okay. Or literally in a meditative state, go for a walk with their child. Try to remember, you've seen a picture of myself holding my sister's hand, looking like I want to club her. I'm miserable. I've got a little bow tie on. I'm about 4. She's about 2 or something like that. And it's clear our childhood just ain't much fun at this moment.
Yeah.
And I go for a walk with little Michael. And I sit him down on a park bench. And I tell him how much I love him. I tell him how much everything's going to be all right. And then I ask him to share. Little Michael, what are you worried about? What are you concerned about? What's going on? And I want to hear everything. And then to let him know, all right, I'm going to do everything in my power to take even better care of you. That's compassion. Another exercise that you can do is to actually go for a walk with your emotion. See, emotions are not good nor bad. They're information. And instead we get in this spiral, which is you get upset. Okay, boys get upset, girls cry. That's the I think the accepted range of emotions, at least in the US. Boys are allowed to get angry, which is why boys go on killing shooting sprees, and girls are allowed to cry, which is why they draw inward and crumble on the inside. They're allowed to go quiet too. Boys are not allowed to cry. Girls are not allowed to get angry.
Girls also aren't really allowed to cry.
No
one's really allowed to cry.
It's a stoic society where we've got to be young. We've got to push through.
Yeah.
We can't be vulnerable. We can't show compassion for anybody else, or else we see ourselves as weak.
And it's not just this society in the US.
This is a worldwide phenomenon.
I remember growing up, my dad would tell me to stop crying. He said more or less, it was in Chinese, that crying means you're weak.
Bingo.
You need to be strong.
Bingo. And no, we need to be vulnerable. We need to be open-hearted. We need to get out what's on the inside. And so what happens here is, let's say I'm a boy, it seems to fit here. I get angry. Gosh darn it, Pookie, I'm not going to take it anymore. And I get angry. And then I go, I got angry. Gosh darn it, Michael, I am so disappointed in you for getting angry. And then, oh my God, Michael, you don't deserve to blankety blank. I am so angry at you for being angry at you. And this is a spiral that we get into individually, and also a spiral that we get into as a couple. I call it a feedback loop, where the answer to it is compassion. How much compassion can you bring to yourself in this moment? How much compassion can you bring to yourself? If we ever do this again, we have to make it so nobody can reach us in the middle of these things. How much compassion? Sorry, my editor had just written. I'm trying not to think about what he just wrote.
He said, Michael, are you there?
Yes, and where my mind goes is, does he have the file so that we can air our show tonight? That is where my mind goes. And I get to have compassion for myself, for my breaking concentration. We are not taught to be compassionate to ourselves. We are taught to strive. We are taught to drive. We are taught to push. We are taught to mow down. And we are taught to take no prisoners, not even with ourselves. And so to break this, first we go to awareness, then we go to compassion, then we go to meditation. It could be a silent meditation. It could be going out in nature. It could be laughter therapy. It could be something he called, not crazy breath or something, but it was something like that where he's quite literally for 40 minutes. His teacher had him do that for 6 months, which brought up all these emotions, all this junk, and even soreness in his body, like pain in the back from going into it. And while doing, he literally could not think during that 40 minutes. That's it too. But we have to dive in with some technique next. And then I would say bring love to it. So it's something that our guest, she talked about, bless you, she talked about bringing gratitude, and gratitude is the most beautiful thing. Bringing awareness that this happened for some special, beautiful reason can help change everything. That was a long-winded answer. I hope that helped.
I don't remember
She's
the
going,
question.
what was the question? Yes, I get it. All right, what's next on the fun list?
Zoe asked, she's always wanted to ask what you've learned from the Tony Robbins events that you've attended.
So Zoe, I haven't gone to Tony Robbins events. I have, however, listened to all of his recordings as of, I guess, the mid-90s. Tony was a big early on influence for me. The thing that I got most out of Tony wasn't a specific tool or technique. It was an understanding that we can become awake and aware of everything that is going on, and we can change anything in our lives. I do love, and he always says it with his hands, we can take massive action. And I used to be a believer in massive action. Now I'm a believer in micro action done over a massive period of time, meaning a tiny little step each and every day that adds up to the massive gains. And he also talked about being just a little bit better each day. I think he probably, I want to give him credit, probably talked about being 1% better each day or each week. And I do think if we challenge ourselves for growth, little bits each and every day, it does add up to massive gains. Thank you so much. Do I love him? Yes. Is he the guy for me? At this point, he's a little bit too young, a little bit too strong. I will say I couldn't make it through his documentary, but I do subscribe on occasion to his belief. He's a Mr. Profanity kind of guy. I'm not picking on him. He talks about it in the documentary. But I do believe in what I call putting a monkey in the wheel. And I always go, sorry, poor monkey. He likes to do a shock value way.
Maybe it's a monkey wrench.
I like that better. Poor monkey wrench. Monkey wrench will be fine. The wheel will be trashed.
Poor wheel.
Poor wheel. But but he uses profanity and shock value to wake people up from their sleepwalk. And I tend to take more of a gentle approach, because my big concern is, in this society, we have already driven, we have already pushed, we've already strived, we've already tried, we've already gone. And I want to draw us inward. I want to draw us more gently. I want to really, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself. Give us all the nurturing. I guess I'm going for more of, I don't usually call it this way, but the divine feminine side of things. How much can we mother and love ourselves up through this experience?
Cool. We have a bunch of questions from the audience, but I have a quick one.
Yes.
Have you had clients that are more like a man's man kind of guy, where all of this like self-love and petting the baby and taking... Have you had any clients where this kind of stuff of getting in touch with the heart and feelings is difficult?
Yeah. I'm thinking
I guess it doesn't even have to be men. It could be women who've just had to close up their hearts for whatever reasons.
I've had clients, well, I've had both. I've had men and women. I'm thinking of several clients in cultures that were very masculine oriented, were very male oriented.
Such as?
Well, I don't want to pick on any country in particular, but the region oftentimes is Middle East. So, and helping them to crack open their hearts. And cracking open their hearts is like the coolest thing in the world, because it's all in there. We're all a balance of yin and yang. We're taught to be one way, and we're taught to treat people one way according to that. But that all shifts once you start to get in touch. Even a man's man, whatever that is, a Marlboro man, and we actually had on the daughter of the Marlboro man, I think we had on the show, of the literal Marlboro man. Even a Marlboro man, if they are open, can start to do the work to, I start with automatic writing, automaticwriting.com. I'm super biased. Buy it. It will change your life like nothing else. And it's like on sale for like $97. It's like the single most important thing to change your lives. It changed our lives. It continues to on a daily basis. But if you start diving in on a daily basis and hearing your inner wisdom, you realize that you are not either the machismo, or for women, I have to wear the pants and drive and strive and fit into this man's world and do it the man's way. There is a lot more to us going on than that.
So you could coach my dad? He's not really a man's man, but the hearts.
I can lead the horse to water. If the water wants to drink, absolutely. Or if the horse wants to drink, not if the water wants to drink. The water is already drinking the Kool-Aid. It is the Kool-Aid. If he wants that assistance, then yes, absolutely. But realize, if you're calling your dad young and saying we can't have these emotions, he is actually one of the most sensitive, heart-oriented people I know. He just continuously fights to block it off, which explains high blood pressure, which explains glaucoma, pressure in the eyes, because he tries to stuff that down, but it's still there. I cannot think of a more heart-oriented person to raise all of his children, his siblings as his own, without your parents, without his parents. He is all freaking heart.
He is. And then he does have ways of demonstrating his love without saying, I love you.
Yeah. He's all heart.
Okay, so let's get to everyone else's questions. Thank you for entertaining them.
Yeah, you're most welcome.
While I'm scrolling, how is Nacho?
Nacho rocks. So Nacho is our little vole who I would say rescued us rather than us rescuing him off of the...
His full name is Nacho Mole Frisque.
Yeah, and she calls him Mole because at first she thought mole, but it turns out he's not a mole. He's a vole. It's not even a subtle, it's a significant difference. A mole, I think, spends its whole life underground, is pretty much blind. And
Well, I thought maybe he was blind because he appeared to be blind when we first found him.
Because he was 5 or 6 days old. We could actually come up with the day of his birthday based on the day he opened his eyes up. So,
he's about 2.5 times his original size. He's growing rapidly.
Yeah.
And he's become more rotund.
Yes, very healthy. He chases your finger around in his play area. We have a separate area that we take him out to play. He chases your finger around. He'll climb on you. He does kind of hop on your fingers or on your hands. Not too substantial yet. I don't know what we can do about that. But
today might be the first day that he's not going to bottle feed or syringe feed.
Oh, are you okay with that?
Which is great for him, but it's a little sad for me.
So we had to wean him, or he weaned himself at the end. We are figuring out what he likes to eat, what he likes to chew on. No photos of baby Nacho. We get to put more photos on our Instagram. Follow us on Instagram. It's Inspire Nation Live, not Inspire Nation Show. Inspire Nation Live on Instagram. We'll post more pictures of Nacho. Also on our Patreon page, which is where you can go to support us. It's your support that keeps the show going. That's patreon.com/Inspire Nation. We're playing with him multiple times a day. He is a teacher for me. And I actually went into a meditation earlier today where he was my little guide at teaching us to dive into our emotions, at teaching me to play more. I mean, he's had his eyes open for 5 or 6 days. All he knows is us. We have a choice. His whole world can be in a little habitat where he has no stimulation or anything, or it's playing games and having fun every chance that we're willing to take with him. Mm-hmm. So what a teacher in stepping back from the work. Even while I was preparing for my interview with Dr. Gordon today, I had to stop several times and go play with Mole.
Yeah.
So he is doing great. So we will post more photos. It's too bad you can't put attachments right here in the chat window, but we will put more photos up of him as well. Maybe we can even do it in the comments afterwards. All right, give me a few more questions because I've got a coaching session coming up here in a little bit.
Simply Faye asks, I have a question on behalf of everyone here today. How do we finish strong this year? In addition to vision boards and the clarity of knowing what we want, what else could we do to succeed?
All right, so I've got a loaded question here, Simply Faye.
Yes, what is your definition of success?
Yes, that is exactly it. Being more could be a definition of success. All of these things could be a definition of success. My abridged version of a Woohoo 8 exercise, which is something that comes in our automatic writing program and in so many other things, is to write down in 8 categories of your life how you want to feel at the end of the year. Categories. How do I want to feel when it comes to my health at the end of the year? How do I want to feel when it comes to my time wealth at the end of the year? How do I want to feel financially at the end of the year? How do I want to feel with family, friends, and community at the end of the year? How do I want to feel about my spiritual practice at the end of the year? How do I want to feel, goes along with spiritual practice, with my mental well-being at the end of the year? How do I want to feel with my creative expression at the end of the year? How do I want to feel with my occupation at the end of the year?
I would also add, how do I want to start the new year?
Ooh, excellent. So let's hold that thought for 1 second.
Okay.
All of these things that I'm saying is feel. I want to talk about not what I want. I want $10,000 extra a month. Well, yeah, we do. We want blah, blah, blah to take place and blah, blah, blah. I want the emotion behind it. That's what's most important. If you get at the emotion, that's going to help you to finish this year on fire more than anything else. But then Simply Faye, I want you writing this out each and every morning. And on top of it, if you can, writing out a mission statement each and every morning to be your guiding light after you've done your meditation, and preferably after you've done some automatic writing. I need you going into the silence more than anything else on a daily basis. And then I need you journaling about this from your highest self, plugging back in, because meditation alone is huge, but it's not enough. We got in a lot of trouble on Maui when we were meditating and holding space at a meditation center 3-4 hours a day, every single day. Yet our world was crashing around us because we weren't diving into our inner wisdom. So that's where I want you to go. And now talking about the new year, what Jessica is talking about is the I word. Intention. How do you want this new year to feel? I had a coaching client in the last few days who had a birthday, and we were going over what's his intention for the next year ahead for him. When we go to a place of intention, when we use this I word, we are no longer sleepwalking through life. We are becoming more aware, more awake, dropping more into the I-ness of ourselves. So how do you intend to feel? How do you intend to act? How do you intend your life to be in the next year? Oh, Jessica's got the cutest mole photos over here. All right, what's the next question? We've got time for a few more. I'm going to push it as long as I can here.
Okay, next question is scrolling. Can you talk
Good job,
about
Lumi.
forest grounding and how to do it?
Oh.
From Valerie.
Valerie, it's a great question. So there's a technique called forest grounding. It's called Shinryoko. I'm going to butcher it in Japanese. Forget that I even tried it. Called forest bathing. Shinryoko. Yoku.
Forest bathing works.
Forest bathing. Let's go with forest bathing. How can we forest bathe? Get yourself into a forest. How can we forest bathe? Sit on the ground by a tree. How can we forest bathe? Even put your feet on the grass. Just get yourself into nature and plug back in. Now, as far as grounding and earthing specifically, let's get skin in contact with the earth, or if it's getting too cold out there, let's get your skin on top of a cotton sheet. Let's get your cotton sheet on top of the earth. There is an electrical transmission that takes place. You're going, well, that sounds kind of woo-woo. Well, go look at the third prong on your electric outlet for your computer. That's called the ground. And when we plugged back into ground, we discharge, basically in essence, negative ions that our body builds up from being in insulated homes, in insulated cars, driving rubber tired cars, wearing rubber tired shoes for that matter. And when we're barefoot on the ground, or our feet are on the ground or on the grass, or we're laying down on the earth, we discharge all of that charge away, which helps us to sleep better, which helps us to de-stress. In Jessica's case, she's got a new grounding product that she's been using that we're trying out for an interview that's coming up. She's been taking this electrical cord from ground and attaching it. Don't distract me here with pictures of Mole. He's got the got milk mustache going here in this image. She's been plugging it in on her foot, which has been swollen pretty much since we got married. And the inflammation is going down from the grounding, right?
It helps. Yeah. It
helps. So great question. Anything you wanted to add to that with forest bathing, grounding? More
there's
time
a
in
documentary.
Nature?
I think it's called Earthing, but I'm not sure. And the products are called Grounding Therapy.
Is it groundingtherapy.com?
I'm not sure.
We'll have the links up for you.
It used to all be called Earthing, and now they've kind of revamped their branding.
We'll get to the links, and we are certainly biased toward them. Can't recommend them enough. And I think we'll even have an affiliate code if people want to use that, where we actually get something for it. It doesn't cost you anymore. But I think that's like our first affiliate code that we have, and first affiliate code we ever had was for getting people plugged in. I literally have a grounding mat under my keyboard so that I'm grounded when I work. More time in nature you can take, the better. There's no such thing as too much time. That alone will help you to heal. Quite literally, nature heals. That time in the solitude can mean everything.
And it's everything in the environment. It's also the sounds, the sound of the leaves blowing or rustling, the sound of the birds chirping. It's all therapeutic.
Yeah, and you can literally, while it's not maybe as powerful, images that you have in the house, sounds that you have. I used to have a homeopedics rainmaker device that not only had nature sounds that it played on a loop, but literally had water coming down in this fountain, so it seemed like rain in the house. That did make a difference.
It makes a difference, but it's not the same as the real thing.
It's not. So I want to get you out, and
there's a spirit. There's
and that's even virtual reality, which is taking off. I don't think even that putting that on and being in this 3D world can have that same feel. I could be wrong. That same feel is actually literally being out there in it. All right, time for just a couple more questions. Jane, I think it was Jane Jones wrote, it's the dew. Certainly, the more moisture, the better the electrical connection. Absolutely.
I think it's time to do Nacho Mole photo show and tell. We can't actually bring him out here because
kitties.
Yes. He might be viewed as, not might, he would be viewed as bait for the kitty cats.
All right, so if I turn this here,
and I turn this here,
we're gonna do a little show and tell.
So this is Nacho with the milk mustache.
All right, what do we have next?
Next we have.
I wonder if you can zoom in on these photos. Like,
Okay,
can you go back to them?
let me zoom in because.
All right, keep going.
That's his.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Oh, I can.
Oh.
Wow. Yes.
Now we're talking.
That's.
Oh.
That was just a few days ago.
Okay. And now do you have...
And there is a little milk on his forehead too. Michael called him a unicorn.
And this right here, this is the tube that she was using for feeding him. And he decided to put a little warrior paint up on top there.
Well, that was my poor aim. Actually, he's really fast.
Oh my God, is he fast?
He's like hummingbird fast. And then this is just from yesterday, I believe.
Oh, so
He's
cute.
just, as you can see, he's growing quite
Tremendously.
rotundly.
Now, do you have a picture of him being bottle fed? Syringe fed, as the case may be.
Yes. Can you see if there are any questions?
I can't touch that or else it will...
Okay, no questions.
No questions. All right. Give us one more photo, then we're going to wrap things up here.
Okay. Let's see.
I love one if you have where he's holding on to the syringe.
Okay.
I'm being picky here for everybody. So now he's actually on to greens, and we found he loves bell peppers, carrots, okay, sweet peas, but not the outside of the sweet pea.
No, it's not
Snap peas. Just the inside of the snap pea he absolutely loves. So this is a few days ago with his eyes are like half open.
He could be blinking.
Okay. So here is him holding on to the syringe.
I mean, after a while, he was like grabbing onto it and
yesterday
pulling it into his mouth. I think kind of like how babies start to do when they're breastfeeding.
I wouldn't give up on him tonight. He might take another. He was last night. He grabbed that schnozzle. I was just yanking it in to get all this.
He was chewing on it with his teeth, and I was like, "Oh, would you do that with your mommy?" I know breastfeeding takes a whole new turn once your baby starts teething. So I've heard.
Okay. Any last questions, thoughts from our listeners or from you as well? I've got a beautiful coaching session coming up, and I have an editor who needs me. While she's looking, again, if you want coaching with me and you don't want to be waitlisted, we'll still take you as a waiting list client, and good things come to those who wait. The amount of changes I can make with you and help you to make is phenomenal. So I guess going back to Simply Faye, get a coach, get a coach, get a coach. That's the biggest single thing that you can do for the end of the year. With that said, if you want a free strategy session with me, and I do still have 3 spots open at the moment, come on over to inspirenationshow.com/coaching. Few last thing before we see if there's any last question. Click on the subscribe button, click on the bell to get an alert of when we have new shows coming out. Please support us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/InspireNation. And not only check out Inspire Nation Live, if you're an Instagram person, we're posting there pretty much daily right now, but also iMeditations. Come get your free meditations. Free meditations, come get them free. What is it, get them while they're hot? Get them while they're hot. And that's imeditations.com. Did we have a last question from anybody?
No.
All right.
I think everyone's pretty enamored by Mole.
He is. I love our kitties. I love our kitties. I love our kitties. I love our kitties. I love you guys. I love you, Brave Skull. There's something really special about Mole. I don't know if it's that I bonded with him by carrying him 5 miles in a state of prayer on the trails, praying to God for the strength for him to live, trying to send him all the love I could to help him to live. I'm not sure if it's that, if it's the bottle feeding, or what it is. But that little guy has my heart. Oh my God, that little guy who's still, about the size of my thumb at this point. He has stolen my heart.
Yeah,
and
the
he
size
has.
of your thumb, like that.
Yeah, he's tubbier than the thumb now. It's so cute.
I think we need a kitty cameo, and then
Kitty cameo, and then
we're
I
done.
really have to boogie here. So, okay, let me put the link for the free meditations. imeditation.com. Free
meditations. Yes, okay.
free meditations. And who do we have for a kitty meo tonight? Oh my. Now this is a surprise. I'm going to tilt it a little bit.
Okay, and you see this? This is why.
Oh no!
This is why we don't show mole to the kitties.
Oh no! It's all about the love. It's all about the love. What else do we have in here? Oh no!
There's a lot of stuff.
There's another purple one. And do we have anything else in here? We have a fuzzy ball. You're looking at me really funny there.
Oh,
'Tis the season.
that was in his stocking.
Did that have catnip in it?
Yes.
Excellent. All right.
Did you show them this too?
I did.
Oh, okay.
So we have 3 houses like this for carrying. We used it for carrying them across the country so that they'd feel comfortable in it. So if there was an emergency, we could put them in quickly, sort of like last year when the mountain in front of us caught on fire. But thankfully, they still love their houses, or at least Sir Meowsers does. All right. I got to wrap things up here. More the merrier. Oh, I love it.
Oh, look, he's looking at you.
I love you. I do. You know what I did earlier today? I went out on a bicycle ride and there was a snake on the driveway.
Yeah, and you thought about taking it home?
Well, I pet the snake and I said, I love you, but you can't stay here. You're gonna get smushed. And completely non-aggressively, as I'm sending it love, he turns around and he slithered off to the side. It is amazing what you can do when you bring love to the situation. It is just, or chin scratch. Although I didn't go for the chin scratch with the snake. I respected his privacy. All right, we love you guys. Have an amazing week ahead. We look forward to seeing you next week before I go to Mexico for the Nobel Laureates Peace Summit. I am so honored and excited to go, and we're going to see what I can further learn to help shift the world, and who I can work with down there to help shift the world. The more people like yourselves that we help to become awake, aware, and to heal, the more we are going to shift this planet, because it truly is an inside job. So I'll see you next week before I go to Mexico, and then maybe we'll do a show from Mexico. No, I guess I'll be traveling. No, I could do one. I could do one from Mexico the following week.
Maybe you can have a guest.
Ooh, that would be kind of cool. All right, love you guys. Any last words from Jessica?
I think the smartphone worked great. Oh, Michael did order a new laptop.
I did order look at this. I did order a new to me travel laptop. I'm very excited about this. And I am a big upcycler, recycler, everything cycler, so that we can put the minimum impact on this planet. In fact, if I was to do a shout out for Mother Earth, I'll challenge you. How little plastic can you use this week? Plastic, we have nowhere for it to go at this moment. It's not being recycled. How little plastic can you purchase, can you use?
Some of it is, but very little, very small percentage.
Yeah, there is some kind of plastics are truly recycled a little bit, but right now we're down to 2.2 is what they estimate percent of plastic being recycled in the US this year, even when we try to recycle. See people drop off. Take care of Mother Earth and she'll take care of you. We love you guys. Be well, keep shining bright. And now, biggest challenge of them all, I have to figure out how to click the end button on here. And thank you, Pookie, for running the show. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What it is? She's writing something else before.
Oh, yes. People are asking the link for the free meditations.
So you got two choices, imeditation.com, and you can also come to inspirenationshow.com. And I think there's a bar at the top. We're going to have something bigger on the main page as well.
There's, yes, I'm working on it.
She's working on it. So at the very top on inspirenationshow.com, you'll see a bar where you can sign up for your free meditations, or you can go to, I was calling it iMeditation, or you can go to www.imeditations.com. All right, I've got a boogie. I'm literally supposed to be with a client now. If you're listening, I love you. I'll be speaking to you in about 30 seconds or a minute as soon as I speak with my editor. Shine bright.
Bye.
Woo-hoo.
Thanks, guys.
Love you guys.